Hello and welcome to News Centre. I'm Parikshit Luthra. If you are a Delhi resident, chances are that you would want the right to breathe to be enshrined as a fundamental right in the Indian Constitution. And why not? Delhi currently shares the ignominy of ranking constantly as the world's most polluted capital city. The air quality in the metropolis continued to remain in the very poor category despite a slight improvement over the weekend. Several areas including Pusa Road, RK Puram, Chandni Chowk, Shadipur, Punjabi Bagh and Mundka recorded AQI levels above the 300 mark. The government's pollution situation is improving. Outside Mausam Bhavan, the headquarters of the pollution situation is improving. Outside Mausam Bhavan, the headquarters of the weather department, the air quality level is not even being displayed on the boards. The AQI reading is usually displayed on these boards, and with air quality worsening, the AQI reading has also vanished. Meanwhile, if the poor air quality was not enough, protesters had to face police barricades for daring to urge the government for intervention. They had gathered at India Gate last evening, demanding urgent government action against air emergency. Even protesters, which included children accompanied by parents, were not spared. The police claimed that only those blocking traffic were detained and later released. The cops said that the protesters did not have permission to protest at the India Gate and were reportedly asked to move to Jantar Mantar. Before I welcome our guests to discuss this, here's a report from Timsi Japuria from ITO, a busy road intersection in central Delhi.
I'm outside the Indian National Science Academy. This is the air quality monitoring station where the meter to monitor air quality is stationed at ITO by the Central Pollution Control Board. And if you see the PM 2.5 readings, which will be displayed shortly, they are above 187 units. And any reading above 40 units, see, now the PM 2.5 reading is at 197 units, and any reading above 40 units is right at the Bahadur Shah Zafar Marg ITO signal outside the Indian National Science Academy.
To take this discussion forward, I'm now joined by Vimlendu, founder of Swecha, and environmental activist Bhavreen, Kandhari. Thank you very much for being with us on the program. Vimlendu, let me begin by asking you, we see the situation year after year. What do you think is going wrong this time around? Is it vehicular pollution? Is it farm fires? Is it construction dust? Or is it all of the above?
So, Parikshit, I think, this year, and of course, this pollution is not a 2025 phenomena. We've actually seen last decade, at least, the situation being the same, almost similar AQI levels. But what is very, very unfortunate this year is twofold. One is that we've actually seen the data being manipulated at the end of the day. Like right now, in reality is that, of course, your reporter was talking about 350 or 400, or the government air quality monitors are talking about severe and severe plus levels of air quality in Delhi NCR. But reality is that through government's own submission to the Supreme Court on the peak of Diwali's pollution, the air quality monitors were either shut down or later there's been several instances of water sprinkling that's been going on. So one is that government, rather than actually suppressing pollution, it is actually suppressing data that should largely inform both the government and its citizens in terms of what to do and what not to do in these dire, extreme situations. That's one. Two is that what happened yesterday was extremely shameful and disgusting, that there were peaceful protesters assembled in one of the lawns of India Gate that anyway had thousands and thousands of people a Sunday afternoon. And a peaceful protest was actually violently dealt with by the state. And these were children, women, fathers, mothers, normal citizens who were actually asking their right to clean air. So that is fundamentally what has changed this year through these years, where largely we look at perception management and symptom management in terms of really sprinkling water or perhaps doing these voodoo smoke tower and cloud seeding, than looking at the origin, the source of the pollution, which in case of Delhi, we're talking about vehicular, which is almost 40. We talk about construction. We're talking about stubble burning. All those issues are the main issues that the government, being the custodian, is supposed to address. But government, largely, rather than addressing those issues, is actually charging upon small children and citizens.
Okay. Let me come back to you, Vimlendu. Let me go across to Bhavreen. Bhavreen, now the government's rationale is this. We are deploying smog guns in high rises. We're using water sprinklers for dust mitigation. We're monitoring construction. We've notified 8,000 industries to control emissions. What more needs to be done? And can there be some permanent SOP to bring down pollution levels during Diwali, during winters? Because why have a political debate over this? You see the BJP, the AAP, the Congress all trading charges against each other. Let's avoid this political debate. Why don't we find a permanent SOP to deal with this? What could be that permanent solution?
Yeah, so clearly, I mean, of course, adding to what Vimlendu just said, I'm not repeating, all these, things that you've mentioned, all the so-called solutions that they're saying or what they're doing are absolutely, mostly all illogical. They don't work. You're creating pollution and then you want to clean it up. That's not going to work. So obviously, so many years have gone by because, whether it was smog tower and now cloud seeding or smog guns, you need smog guns. You need smog guns on every construction site and throughout the year. You don't have to come and start doing this only because the GRAP is invoked, so you bring smog guns. It's like the green construction, compliances have to, bear this. But unfortunately, see, coming to compliance, now that is something, now throughout the year, there are so many violations that are being pointed out by various, residents, citizens, activists, and those are repeated again and again. So I will just come to a larger, picture that we kind of see, and I'm sure Vimlendu will agree with me, that the pollution boards have failed. They have clearly failed. It's too long a time for them. So now there's a very important need. There has to be kind of an independent, air quality and public health commission, because unfortunately the pollution boards or the commission, they're not even connected with the health. There's no interaction happening except for writing one odd letter in a year. So there are no advisories, as you saw this year. There's no data transparency, like we saw the real-time public air quality data. We need that. There has to be independent audit of monitoring stations. There should be, open, downloadable data for citizens. What is there to hide? Now today, citizens are roaming out every morning. You are coming and, measuring yourself to prove a point. So it's becoming a game of numbers, not realizing
Bhavreen,
it's damaging our
Okay, let me just get in Vimlendu once again. Vimlendu, is it time for Graded Response Action Plan 3? We restrict the flow of vehicles into the national capital. We shut down schools up to class 5, ban non-essential construction. Or is there something more that can be done to probably address this pollution problem? Because right now you've got pollution levels at alarming levels. That is clear. Even if we look at the AQI, which the government may admit to, it's in the very poor category. What do we need to do on an emergency basis to address the situation?
See, I'm not a proponent usually of band-aid solutions. And GRAP 3, GRAP 4, perhaps year one, it still worked. But right now, to still depending completely on these GRAP solutions as the actual measure to combat air pollution is something which is completely misplaced, or it is actually a dishonest governance in that sense. Having said that, still, given the fact that there's no action that's been taken place through the year between the last GRAP to this GRAP, the eve of a GRAP in that sense, given that there's enough data already which should ideally have triggered GRAP 3 or in fact GRAP 4, because 400 plus is what air quality monitors were at least in 10 out of 39 air quality monitoring stations. So I think that the fact that when there's nothing else, at least sort of a shutdown, lockdown is the only thing that perhaps the citizens could be offered. However, as I said, it's a band-aid solution. But at the same time, my thing is that I think it's high time that the government of Delhi should realize that nobody's blaming government of Delhi alone, because Delhi government is a new government, or this current political party in that sense. We will have to really look at this as an entire air shed, because cleaning Delhi's air alone will not help unless you do not clean Gurgaon's air and Noida's air and Ghaziabad and Faridabad, or the entire air shed in that sense. And that holistic, comprehensive, collective and continuous solution seeking
Right.
can only happen if there's something that happens at the central level. Very unfortunate, but right now I don't even know. I have not heard a word. One of the largest protests and police action against peaceful protesters have taken place, but we don't know where the Environment Minister of India is. People don't even know who the Environment Minister of India is.
All right, my final question to Bhavreen. Bhavreen, one final message to the government, both at the state and central level, about what can be done. We just have about a minute, if you can sum up your thoughts for us.
Well, so something that I was saying now, it's whether, they have to act decisively, they have to act collaboratively, and beyond the short-term measures, like, we cannot have these like band-aid, measures. And this means that, again, putting it in, there has to be transparency, there has to be emphasis on health protection, so that ways of, I'm saying, you have to show clearly, the health advisories, etc. I mean, there were years now people were wearing masks, and now you see nobody's wearing. So this is how, when the government leads in the wrong way, they mislead you. Then people tend to forget and not care about it, and they have to lead in the right sense.
Right.
And independent air regulator that is much needed, because obviously whatever it is, it's not worked, and it's not worked for long enough. Yeah.
All right, we've run out of time, but thank you very much, Bhavreen and Vimlendu, for joining us. We're taking a short break, but coming up on News Centre, JK Tyres has launched India's first tyres with embedded sensors for passenger cars. A special conversation with company chairman and managing director Raghupati Singhania on the new launch, the company's growth plans, and the impact of US tariffs on the Indian tyre industry. Don't go anywhere, that's coming up.